Good evening, friends of Gawad Kalinga and friends of the poor. Welcome to Kwentong GK. This is Donna Reyes, your host in this weekly Kwentuhan or conversation. This evening, we have a very special guest. He is a law student and a very active community leader in the Midwest area. Here's in Chicago. Please welcome Everett Icao. Hi, Everett.
Hello. Hi, Auntie Donna. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. Thank you for joining me this evening. I'm super excited to chat with you. I know, obviously, we're both from Chicago. So, every chance we get, which has not been a lot, obviously, right, in the past year, when we see each other, we do chat, right? But tonight, our friends in the US, GK USA, and also our friends in Gawad Kalinga, Philippines, will also get a chance to know you and how you came to know Gawad Kalinga and your basically GK story. So first off, you are a law student, right? And you're very active in the Filipino community here in Chicago. So how do you balance that out? Like doing both are very, could be very stressful, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's as an aspiring lawyer and an attorney, it is definitely a challenge. But I find it super gratifying to help others, especially in community service. And I think I use it more as a outlet, as a kind of form of therapy, to not always focus on the tangible. Education obviously is important, but being able to help others, I think, is what really is the end goal for me. Being able to make change, true lasting change in people's lives. And I think that's why GK is so special to me as an organization, and all the other organizations that I'm a part of, but especially GK, because it, for me, especially deals with youth engagement and kids.
And we're going to talk more about your involvement in GK. But before GK, you have actually been very involved and still involved with PACF, with the Philippine American Cultural Foundation here in Chicago. And I was so excited to have you on this evening, especially because we are celebrating Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, this whole month of May. So I want to get your thoughts about that. How about what we're celebrating this month, the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and and where we as Filipinos sort of how do we I guess get more involved or and be more, I guess, present in this in our community.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I kind of this month, especially May, we celebrated every month Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, but I feel like we are at an inflection point, and especially in our community, especially what we're going through, regionally, locally, and internationally, globally, really, and the effects of the pandemic. Being a part of organizations like Philippine American Cultural Foundation, it means especially important to me now, being a part of those organizations that advocates for the cultural preservation and heritage of our various multi-communal communities of Asian Pacific Islanders is important, especially with the growing increased rates of hate crimes towards our community. And I think it's important that we highlight that and that we don't shy away from the very hard conversations of what it means to be Asian American Pacific Islander, and being truly proud of what that means and what kind of sacrifices people before us made to be able to allow us to live a life of comfort and privilege. But that also comes with great responsibility. And I think for me, as a proud Filipino American Asian part of the Asian American community, I think it is worthy that we take on that responsibility now and into the future generations of youth, and that we continue to engage in those struggles, whether that may be biases that we have, whether they're subconscious or unconscious, but we need to make sure that we have that clear mindset and goal that we need to make changes, not for ourselves, but for the future generations to come. And being part of organizations like PACF and others is a part of that solution.
And there are many in our Asian community who would take out on the streets and express their concerns and maybe even anger, right, to the extreme.
Yeah.
Just really with all those stop Asian hate, those kinds of things, and and that's one way, right, to be involved and be heard, right. And what I also love is the opportunity for an organization like PACF, right, like Philippine American Cultural Foundation, just promoting who we are as a people, who we are as Filipinos, because so many Filipino Americans are cannot appreciate their heritage because they don't really know so much about it.
True.
So was that we were talking about how I asked you if you were comfortable talking Tagalog, and you said you're learning, yay, and you're trying to just learn as much, even maybe dialect. Don't you speak or something? Your parents, Visayas region too, right?
Yes.
So that's the thing too. There's Tagalog and all those, I don't know how many dialects in the Philippines.
Yeah. Sa mga Visaya din ha. Hello.
Oh wow. Are you more comfortable speaking Visaya than Tagalog?
I both. It becomes when I'm kind of entranced in a conversation. If I don't know a word in a certain dialect, I will switch. It just happens to be that way. So I guess I'm trilingual or tri-dialect. I'm not really sure the correct linguistic term, but
right.
My family is originally from Mindanao. So we speak Visaya with a B.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a learning process to kind of re-engage myself as a Filipino American to take on the language, and it's important for us to. For me, like I said earlier, it's a form of self-empowerment.
Right. So, but before you became active in like in PACF and all those other organizations, and also with PhilPro, right? You were one of the chosen leaders, young community leaders that they sent to the Philippines, and just congratulations. By the way, was it last year or 2 years ago?
2019.
2019, right? It was before the pandemic, I thought. Okay, yeah. So but before all that, how was your understanding of your own heritage of being Filipino? How did it, were you pretty much in touch with your Filipino culture even before that, or you were, but then it just kind of deepened your understanding of of who you are as Filipino?
Actually, so my story begins in Southern Florida, where I am actually. And
hello to our friends in Miami.
yes, hello. I was not connected to my Filipino American story, to be honest. I grew up in a very white community home. Of course, when you immigrate to a country like the United States, you assimilate, right? You try to find a sense of belonging, and it wasn't a priority to be Filipino in my household. But of course, we still practiced small traditions of Filipino stuff, like taking off your shoe when you enter another Filipino American home, or those little things. But yeah, I was not really familiar. I think my turning point of self-discovery of my culture and heritage was in college. I am a proud alumni of Loyola University Chicago. Go Ramblers! Yes. But yeah, I really I got engaged with CAPA, the local Filipino American student organization, and really kind of encouraged me to learn more about myself and what it means to be a person of color, what it means to be an Asian American, what it means to be Filipino American, and learning more about the societal norms and the toxic norms that are placed on us, that people that look like me, or like us, right? So really, I was really very grateful to be part of that experience, and I had a lot of mentors throughout my years at Loyola, and it allowed me to experience the things that I felt that needed for me to be experienced, whether that was positive or negative, to allow me to become and to advocate for the things I advocate for now. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Loyola. When I worked for Jimmy Network, it was one of the Filipino organization there, was one of the Filipino associations we supported. And I know that it's, the Filipino American associations is very active and very much alive in Loyola. So, all right. So, well, let's talk about PhilPro. So stands for, it's a mouthful. So please, can you indulge me and let everyone know what PhilPro stands for?
Sure. PhilPro stands for Filipino Young Leaders Program. It was started by the former ambassador of the Philippines to the United States, Ambassador Quisha. And essentially what the program became was, its goal was to connect Filipino Americans of diverse industries to the motherland, and how we as Filipino Americans growing up and being raised in the United States, how we can build that relationship with the motherland, and how we can bring forth opportunities and businesses, whatever that may be, social enterprises to the Philippines, and encourage one another and kind of build that camaraderie. And now, moving forward, yes, I was, as you mentioned earlier, I was part of the last batch, the most recent batch. We didn't have one, sadly, in 2020 because of the pandemic that we're all experiencing. But in 2019, I was very grateful to be chosen to represent the Chicagoland Midwest area, to be part of a batch of 14 young Filipino professionals to go to the Philippines and take part in that week-long program. We networked, of course, with GMA, and we had many partners through the Department of Foreign Affairs, with public and private sectors, and it was just a lot of fun. I think my favorite part was, again, building community with the local Idas in the northern region of Luzon, and working with Manila Water and such, to work with them in bringing fresh water to that community, the indigenous community. So that was really quite an experience. And I encourage those who are interested to visit philpro.org to learn more about the organization and how to be part of the movement of building that bridge and discovering and representing.
Thank you for providing that website, because actually Chrissy was asking, what's the website for that?
Yes, philpro.org.
You can put it down on the comment below, philpro.org.
Yes.
Right. Okay, awesome. So, and this is, and how do, I mean, not we don't have to provide all details, but I understand that there's an age limit too, as to, right, the people get nominated.
Yes, there is an age limit from
young. Right. Yes.
Anyway,
that means I'm out of the equation. I cannot qualify for it.
Well, we definitely have, so to formally be part of the Emergent program, it is from ages 25 to 40. But now the PhilPro has kind of moved its position in terms of widening that spectrum, really. And that's really an important conversation that we're having as an organization in terms of representation. And we encourage those who may not be within that age group, they still be part of PhilPro and helping us in advocate for communities like ourselves in the Filipino American community of, in terms of projects, collaboration, partnerships. So we welcome that. And so although we have members and leaders in the current organization that were not part of the immersion program per se, but they are a vital part of the organization, and we are truly grateful to have them.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, before we move on, I forgot to tell you earlier that we actually read comments from Facebook.
Okay.
To switch between Zoom and Facebook. So Chrissy from our marketing team is helping us out with this.
Nice.
Hold on. So Herb and Jean G and Tita Josie Disserhoff are saying hi to you, Everett.
Hi, Jean. Hi, Tita.
And also hi from Coach Dennis from GK CPAG.
Hi, Coach. How are you? Hope you're doing well.
All right. So for those of you who are just tuning in, please feel free to comment down below. And, if you have any questions, if you just want to say hi to Everett, feel free to comment, and Chris is sharing that with us as we move on to, as we go on with the show. So, okay, so now, how did you get involved with Gawad Kalinga?
Oh, I love telling this story. It's one of my favorite stories because it really truly, I mean, when you say a life-changing moment, you know, that aha moment, if I may quote Oprah, it was truly my aha moment. So with GK, my story begins in a different immersion program a year prior to 2019. So I went I joined PhilPro in November. I did an immersion trip from ages 18, or sorry, at the time was 16 to 24, called ULEAD, which stands for Youth Leaders in Diaspora. And it was a collaboration between this Commission of Filipinos Overseas and the local Filipino consulate in Chicago, encouraging young high school and college students to be part of the immersion program. But essentially, it was also a week-long program. And one of the days that was scheduled by the Commission of Filipinos Overseas. So hello to all of those who are watching from that organization, from that department, is a community building day. And at that time, I didn't really know what GK stands for, what GK meant really. But we were told that we were going to be spending an overnighter within a community in building homes. Now, when I think of building homes as a Filipino American, I'm thinking huge bulldozer, construction, you know, the big rotating cement maker, you know, those kind of machines. And we were going to be doing something very minimalist. Little did I know, I was in for a treat. And was totally fine. So we got there and we were welcomed by a group of locals. And this is at the GK. Am I allowed to say the specific location?
Yes, please.
Okay. At the GK Bayanihan Village in Dasmariñas, Cavite. And so that village welcomed us with super heartfelt, warm welcome. And we were put to work right away. And it was not the kind of sense of construction that I was imagining in my head. It was really a truly very different experience. Everything was by hands, like, I mean, with true hard work and grit. I mean, these people, the local communities really put in the hard work and time and hours to really build their home from scratch. I mean, and they explained to us, you know, these bags of cement didn't come pre-packaged in any way. Like, you had to put it in water, mix it with a shovel, bare hands. Like, there wasn't any kind of protection. So if you weren't used to calluses, it was going to be a challenging time. But long story short, I mean, the time was truly gratifying because we built community with them. They showed us how wonderful and happy they were, even though they were working under the beating hot sun, but they were so happy and just pure joy. And that was truly life-changing for me. And what even more so was, kids would come and say hello, you know, want to talk to us and bring us water and treats. And that was just, you know, the little things they were giving fully, wholeheartedly to us. And that was something that really touched my heart and really made a difference, and encouraged me to kind of ask myself, how do I give back? I have so much that I am taking advantage of. How do I give back to those who don't have or have very little in their daily lives? And so that is really what sparked my interest, or piqued my interest, into what GK is all about and how to give back to the poor.
And so how did you connect with GK USA, with Gawad Kalinga USA?
So when I got back, I was approached by our local GK Chicago chapter area director, Ate Leslie.
Leslie Tequia.
Yes, Ate Leslie Tequia. And he kind of, you know, wanted to, I've done a few events with GK. I mean, one of them was with your birthday fundraising, but I think what the missing piece was, Atadana, was that experience at that local village. I think that's what really changes you from being a benefactor to being an advocate, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a step up. You know, I was always—
I love that.
you know what I mean? Like it's
Yes.
different when you, I don't want to say blindlessly, it's not the right word I want to say, but you want to donate, of course, wholeheartedly. But when you have that deep connection, personal connection, that donation means so much more because you know it's going to something that will truly make a change you see and you've experienced. And so that is why GK is so special to me, because I know that whatever part or whatever section you are giving back to GK as an organization, GK USA or national or the Philippines, it's, you know that change will come. It's going to take time, and you may feel like a small piece, but together you can make such big changes, and especially in the lives of kids. So yeah, that's why GK is so special to me and how I got connected.
I really love how you differentiate being, a donor, right? Donating money, maybe time even, right? And obviously there's nothing wrong with that, please.
Yes, we encourage that.
To participate and join us, right? But where it, I guess, goes beyond that, like you said, being an advocate, it's really understanding what the work really is all about. And that's why, in the early days when we started Gawad Kalinga here in the US, I started in 2003, same as Maricel Villanueva, who's our executive director of GKUSA.
Hi, Sal.
Yeah, she's watching, and she actually has a question for you. We'll get in a minute, but yeah. So in the early years when we started Gawad Kalinga, Tito Tony Miloto, who's the founder, was very specific and careful in saying that it is not charity, it is a movement, right? So it's not. Yes, obviously, we do need the resources, to both financial and all other resources, human resources, obviously, right, to practically, operate basically, right? But it really is beyond, donating money or even time. It really is having that experience and having that opportunity to change people's lives and to change our lives, right? So as you were sharing, it seems like your life has changed since that.
It truly has. I mean, being part of GK, it truly has.
So now, okay, so why don't you share with us some of the maybe activities or projects that GK Chicago is working on? I know you have one or two projects as well, and so is Jean, who's watching right now and everything. So maybe just give us some ideas that some of our friends may want to participate in.
Yeah, sure. For me personally, my personal, I guess, legacy project for GK is really reflects back on my time at the Dasmariñas village. It really kind of rooted on my experience with the kids. One of the moments that was truly special to me was the kids taught us how to play games, like street games. Some of them, now you'll have to correct me, Adon, I'm not really great at the names. I think it's called Patentero.
Patentero, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tag, but like in 4 squares kind of thing. That was really cool. Others were, tinikling, and dances, those kind of things, singing. So it's really cool to hang out with the kids and get to know them after a long day's work. And what I realized coming back, or when I was back in the States, is that these kids, were playing these games in the middle of the street. Like there wasn't a safe space for them to really learn and to grow and to kind of, cultivate a sense of community amongst, their age group. And so what we were thinking at the time, the group and I were, that I went with the You Lead organization, was that how do we give back that will change the lives of the kids? And so the Play for Change campaign began around the end of 2019 to 2020. And what it is that we had planned on fundraising through our different various network, and of course, working with GK USA and the Philippines as to how we can bring forth a playground and building a space and having creating that space for them to grow. And so I was before the pandemic, obviously the pandemic changed courses, but we are determined to, now that we're kind of feeling a sense of normalcy, we're going to start working back on track as to what that project will look like and how we can move that forward. But basically, working with local architects through GK as to building a safe, environmentally friendly playground for not just Dasmariñas, but we hope to replicate it through other communities of GK, such as Tolosa, which is very special to the Chicago chapter,
Right.
and others. And so that's one of the one of the projects that I'm helping lead with my batchmates, as well as others in the local Chicago area GK course. So hopefully we will be able to share more as into how we can, if you want to contribute, whether that's either talent, treasure, and time, we will hopefully be able to advocate for more.
Now, would that be the first playground for a GK village? Would that be
From my understanding, it's not. There has been others. I can't recall the specific location, the other GK or other out of the Philippines communities have been able to work with GK in building playgrounds. But I know I'm working with at the ISA Canana in kind of coordinating the first playground in Dasmariñas, Cavite,
okay?
where that experience for me happened. And so, yeah, hopefully we can build that and continue that, and then replicate it to the rest of the others. Hopefully Tolosa is next.
That's fantastic. I mean, being able to play and being able to play safely is a basic, children's right? To be able to
Yes.
be a child and enjoy playing and enjoying it safely. Now, all right, so we have some questions and shout outs. Herb said that widen it to 75 years old. I think he's referring to PhilPro.
Oh, okay.
So you and I
You can do it now.
can join too, right? Can get nominated.
Yes.
From Jean Gavina, Jean G. Thank you for being an inspiration and giving back to the community. From Maricel Villanueva. Hi, Maricel. She says, hi, Everett. Which part of Mindanao are you originally from?
Good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. So my parents are from the Cagayan de Oro City. So there's Misamis Oriental, that's CDO, and then also like the Ozamis, Clarin area, which is Misamis Occidental. So that area, northern Mindanao.
Okay.
So we call ourselves Bisdak. So for those besides watching, it's Visayang Dako.
Okay.
Very proud Visaya.
Awesome. From Tita Josie, she also wanted to know where you're from. You already answered that. And
yes.
she also asked, do you think you'd be working your project in Mindanao among Christian Muslim families?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Just quickly, I think play is a universal language like love. So it's fun. And I don't think that limits include that. I think fun and being yourself and being happy is a universal language. It equates to love. So it definitely could work in the Mindanao, especially within that community.
All right. So shout out to people also from, from Mindanao or who's interested to also, champion a project. They're working, with Everett.
Yes.
He's inviting you to come and join us. Now, hold on. From Tita June Rafinyan, our GKUSA chairman, he says, thank you for sharing. From Tita Margie Barima. Oh my gosh. Hi, Tita Margie.
Hi, Tita. Hi, Tito.
First time for you to watch our show here. So Tita Margie was part of our GK core group in Chicago, the very first one, which I was on as well.
And Tita June is from the GK Tampa, right?
Yes, yes.
So hello to all those in GK Tampa.
Yes. So Tita Margie says, thanks a lot for sharing. Love is sharing the blessings. God bless us all. And from Tita Rocky Barrido, hello from Tita June R and Rocky. All right. Awesome. So, and well, you mentioned your project. Are there any other projects that you want to talk about? I know Jean, because Jean's watching. You familiar with her project as well?
Yes. So Jean is working to advocate for a health clinic. And specifically, I believe she's starting it in the Tolosa region, which is one of the main communities that the Chicago GK core is supporting. And so, which I think is a great idea, especially now with the pandemic. I think health has become a priority, whether that be emotional, mental, or physical. So those are all intertwined. And I think for her, it really is advocating those three and finding a way to meld that sense of care, that whole. There's a word that I love when it comes to talking about health is cura personalis, caring for the whole person. In Latin, it's really understanding the person, not just their physical needs, but also their emotional, mental needs. And I think that's really important when you're working with people and trying to understand where they come from, their background, their stories, is all factor into their well-being as a person. So I think having a clinic that Jean is advocating for is something to really invest in, because these these changes cannot happen just externally, but must come in also internally. So yeah, so support her project as well. We're working together in advocating in that project also.
Actually, GK Chicago has, quite a few projects going on. I know we're supporting, and I know this, of course, because I'm also from Chicago, as most of you know, if you've been watching GK. We're supporting community pantries that, oh my gosh, that just amazes me how, like, from one, community pantry, now it's like all over, right? And I know we're supporting, a couple of those. And then also Leslie's doing a birthday fundraiser. So
yes,
yeah, in her golden year.
We won't tell her age.
Yeah. So so just throwing those out there, some fundraising ideas or just some ideas to support our Gawad Kalinga movement. Especially if you're new in this, if Gawad Kalinga is something new to you, don't know much about it yet, but you want to help out, you want to participate, you want to do something, but maybe, you don't really know where to start, kind of thing. So maybe with a birthday fundraiser, if you're celebrating a birthday or an anniversary,
Yes.
what have you, you can
start. And I've done that. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah. I've done it a couple of times too. And, it's just a really simple, not overwhelming at all, simple, fun way to connect with your friends and do something meaningful, right? And help out and change people's lives and your life in the process. All right. So any future plans? I know you're still, so how many more years until you finish your
it's a long journey.
Yeah.
Still a work in progress. I'm actually taking my time. I think I really understanding how, with this pandemic, I think as well as everyone, I'm sure it's affected not just personally, but professionally, taking the time to kind of be living in the moment. And what that means, we've realized, or I've realized, I should speak for myself. I've realized that, those special moments with family are important. We often lose ourselves in the way of like career goals, and the shuffle of things and time and it needs to be done in such a certain way. But this pandemic, I think, is really the silver lining to me personally, is it shows me to like stop and slow down, that you have no control of where God is going to take you, or whatever belief or faith you come from is going to take you, and you need to slow down. So taking my time, I'm enjoying the moment and learning about myself. And hopefully, if time comes, it calls me to be, whether I'm in whatever field of law I'm in the future, that will be something to look forward to. But it's not something that I'm going to hold myself to a strict standard, right? I'm right. Really, my ultimate goal that brings me true happiness is making changes in people's lives and really working together in uplifting each other in the process. So yeah, I'm enjoying, and I'm glad to be home with family. It's definitely
yes.
Yeah.
When I saw that on Facebook that you're spending time with your parents, I thought it was really cool. Obviously, we miss you in Chicago, but not that we see each other anyway in person. So, I think it's a great time, for you to spend with your parents as well. A couple more things
Yes.
here.
Sure.
Toby Florendo, he says, Brian Morales of GK Canada has built several playgrounds in GK Cebu communities. They reuse old tires, etc. It has really helped these communities. When their kids get along, the parents get along. Good point. Great point. Thank you
Yes.
for building more. And yeah, and then Jean says, yes, a health education program clinic in Tolosa. All right. So any final words, anything you want to share with with our friends here?
Final words I would say is that I just want to, I guess this will be my first time kind of openly and verbally expressing my gratitude for my experience with GK. It, like I said in the beginning, I am truly grateful for being able to say that I'm a GK advocate. And I encourage those who are thinking, what can I do with my time? What can I do to make a change? GK is definitely an organization you want to look into. It really is an organization that's based on family and love and really creating that change amongst our communities, not just in the Philippines, but also here in the US. And so, I love a quote. I don't know, for those who may know or been with GK for some time, Father Ben Nebres. Yes, we all know Father Ben.
Of course.
When I met Father Ben, what a great man. I mean, truly inspirational, just as inspirational as Tita Tony. But when he said in when I first met him, when he said, when the poor is not part of your plan, it's hard for the poor to hope for something greater. And that really hit home. We have so many dreams. For me, I have so many dreams of achieving for myself, but when do we ever stop and think, what can those dreams be shared for someone who's less fortunate, and how do we go about doing that? And I think that is such a wide, like a mind-blowing experience when we bring people, when we uplift not only ourselves, but uplift those who are below, who are under us, who just doesn't have the access or the resources, but we open that door just enough for them to come through and lift them up. I think it's such a beautiful experience. And I hope, I really want to talk directly to the young professionals like my age and those upcoming who are still in school. You may feel at the time that you don't have much to give, that you don't have the financial capability to give. But you know what you can give wholeheartedly is your heart, really your heart. And when you do something wholeheartedly, change will come. It may take some time, and it may take many tries over and over again, but I encourage you not to give up. You will find that voice, that purpose, to really to find that thing that you're advocating for, whether that be GK or another organization. But encourage, really just wholeheartedly give your all to make changes for those who are less fortunate, I think, is the bottom line. And I think that's what makes GK such a special organization, because it is truly their mission to make changes for those who are less fortunate. And what better way to ask someone, how can you make a change in others at the same time making change for yourself? So yeah, but thank you.
Wow, that's just amazing. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for everything that you do for Gawad Kalinga. I'm pretty sure a lot of our seasoned volunteers in Gawad Kalinga are their hearts are full right now in hearing your plea, sort of plea to your age to come and join the movements. There's so much you can do. You have time, you have talents, you have so many things that you're probably don't feel overwhelmed or intimidated at all. Just a couple more things before we wrap up here. Maricel shares that Brian of GK Canada and his team built a playground in GK Bantayan Island, Cebu. Work for and with children, whether for health, nutrition, and play, is always fulfilling. And then she says that they will connect you with Rose Cabrera and a sort of enterprise. Oh yeah, we just had Rose Cabrera on the show a couple of weeks ago, And so Marcel will connect you with her and a social enterprise called Play Tires. And she says she loves your energy and commitment. And then from her began, maraming salamat for an uplifting story to energize all of us. You see, I just said that. So, so yes, it's really something that's super inspiring and encouraging for people who have been in this movement for a long time and may not, well, we're always going to be here, but we do need, it gives us hope seeing that there's a transition and that there are more and more, people like younger generations being involved in the work. So with that, thanks again, Everett, for joining us.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for joining us for another Kwentuhan here in Kwentong GK. Please make it a habit every Thursday night at 5 p.m. Pacific. Join us for another Kwentuhan in Kwentong GK. Good night, everyone.
Good night.